This week, AXCC wraps up their 2020 UTV season, and Chad goes out to Iowa and gets the one thing that Chad absolutely should not have: more speed. So strap in as we bring you up to the race pace. And welcome back to Race Pace, sponsored by CW Motorsports. I'm Doug.
And I'm Chad.
And we are really winding up the season now. In fact, AXCC is finishing up. I think they're finishing up. It's Sunday, so they're probably running the last couple machines across the line. But this is the last round of the season for AXCC, and therefore the last round of UTVs for them as well. And Matt Rowell, while he didn't come in first, he came in second, which is all he needed to. Well, he already had the championship sewed up anyways, but yeah, he just kind of cemented it, put a nice little exclamation point on the end there.
Yep, he went down to make sure, because I guess there was some talk of bonus points for something, and he basically wanted to make sure that as long as he put in a decent showing and showed up to race, he wouldn't be run out by any bonus points, and no one really knew what the bonus points were. So
yeah, and he ran a solid race. He came in second. He finished 2 minutes behind Spencer Maudlin in first. But again, he didn't have to run hard and break the machine. Like, he just had to go out there and turn laps and make sure he came through. I mean, he finished second in Pro Turbo and second overall, so it's not like it was a bad showing.
Right. I watched him on the whole shot. I watched all the UTV whole shots yesterday before I had to go do some stuff. And he got the whole shot with it. He did really good. I mean, it looked like a neat track from the little bit I saw. I mean, I was just watching a few different people's live feeds, and it's down there at Jay, Oklahoma. So. Yep,
this was back to Disneyland for UTV people. So this is the one that we talked about earlier in the season. They started off there, and it's $60, I think, to get in the gate per person, but there's free Wi-Fi and free beer, and there's, you know, it's kind of an all-inclusive type of off-road park. It probably seems a little spendy, but honestly, if you're going there to have a solid weekend, it's probably not that expensive when you start factoring all the stuff they throw in.
Yeah, when you start looking at it, like any riding park anymore is about $20-25 to ride for the day. So, yeah. I mean, it's. I'm not saying it's like economical and a great deal and super cheap, but it's not bad for all the stuff that they throw in.
Yeah, I think it's probably a deal relative to what you get. I mean, if you don't care about all the fancy stuff, then it's not a good deal for you. If you just want, you know, a place to ride and you don't care about any amenities, then this, you know, it is a waste of money for you. But if you like all the niceties, it's really hard to beat this place.
Yeah, that's true.
So, looking at Pro Turbo, again, Spencer Maudlin finished in first, Matt Rowell in second, and then Brandon Grapevine comes in third. He's running a Razor. Back into fourth place, we got William Thomas in a Can-Am, Chad Deutsch in his famous Honda in fifth, Knox Griffin in sixth in a Can-Am, and Liam Dickey finishes out the class in seventh in a Polaris.
Yep. Now, they ran the AMs and PMs all together on this one, from what I was told. So that's kind of why, like, there's a mix of some, we'll say, new names that we don't talk about probably as much.
Yeah, ones you haven't really heard of when we're reading down the rest of the list there.
Yeah.
So we're just going to kind of move through the classes here and give you a sense of what happened. Jared Sheets finished first in the Pro-Am Turbo. And then Steve Mueller finished in second, and Jared Ham finished in third. And Sir Steve only turned 4 laps.
Yeah, he broke. He had transmission troubles. So he said he had no high, no low, no reverse. I said,
no high, no low, no go.
Yeah. I told him, put it in neutral and put the pedal to the floor.
Or just get in front of somebody and just like act like you're, you know, racing, but they're actually pushing you. Just let them keep bumping you. It's fine.
So no, he had some transmission troubles, so he's gonna take it apart and fix that up now. So
man, I feel for Steve. Honestly, with a brand new machine, he's been a little snake bit this year.
Yeah, he has been, but I mean, we got to remember it's still its first real year racing, like not just Steve's machine, but the Pro XP in general.
It's first production year, yeah.
So there's always kind of going to be some bugs to work out, and it happens. It's a first year race team. Speaking of which, we were talking about Jared Sheets. That's first year for the Honda Talon being a full season, and him and Chad, both from out there at Dr. Powersports, they put together a great season for being really one of the first to get their hands on Talons and put them in a race series.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think Chad ended up third in the Pro Turbo, and I think, Jared got first. He wrapped up first for the Pro-Am. So, I mean, congrats to them. Both great guys. It's tough to put together like a good solid season on a first-year machine.
Yeah. Chad was 5th in the Pro Turbo, just for
that was overall.
Sake.
I mean, for the year.
Oh, yeah.
They had their banquet last night. They haven't officially posted those, so we're not going to run down all of them. But I'm just relaying stuff that I know that they announced last night from the guys that were there. So
sure. Moving down to Pro 1000, you got Jack Letourneau, who is running one of the few double X's out there, which I still say is a fabulous machine, and a real shame that it's only naturally aspirated.
They need a turbo so bad.
Come on, 2021, give us something.
Yeah, they're not gonna.
No. Chance Nicola finished in 2nd in his YXZ. Sean Hess was in a Honda, finished in 3rd, and Jimmy Moore in a Polaris finished in 4th. And then moving over to Pro-Am 1000, you've got Patrick Shamblin running in a YXZ in 1st, Cole Ham also in a YXZ in 2nd, and Cameron Dickey in a Polaris finishes in 3rd.
Yep.
Pro single seat, guess what? Both Polarises. You've got,
hey.
Who'd have thought? Perry Manahay finished in 1st, and Bobby Hasty finished in 2nd. And single seat, so that they've got, again, the pro and the amateurs. So this is just single seat. Chris Drahold in 1st and Chad Moret in 2nd.
Yep.
And then moving down to UTVA, you've got Mike Letourneau in another double X out there, finished in 1st. Dan Hill in 2nd in a Can-Am. Dustin Cohen in 3rd in a Polaris. You got a pair of YXZs in Matt and Paul Yurchison. So I'm assuming brothers, maybe, both running YXZs out there. And Austin Parks in 6th in his Can-Am, which only had 2 laps in. So Austin, once again, did not have a great race out there.
Yeah, things happen.
Things do happen. Often and expensively in a UTV.
Yeah.
UTVB, you've got Jason Sweeney in 1st in a Honda, followed up by Jason Bass in 2nd at a Can-Am. JD Williams in 3rd in an other. So Lord knows what he's driving. And Emmanuel Baumler in 4th, also running in one of the new Honda Talons. And in the Masters class, Glenn Hess in the number 1 spot in a Honda, Steve Borio in 2nd in a Polaris, Todd Dickey in 3rd in another Honda, Greg Lusby in 4th in a Polaris, Jeff Molded ran a Can-Am and finished up in 5th, and Dan Schism finished up the class in 6th in a YXZ.
Just a few more years and I can run in Masters.
You could. That's a
I don't
really
think I would. But...
terrifying thought. They'd accuse you of sandbagging if you ran down there.
No, probably.
So, the overall looks somewhat like you'd expect. There's a couple surprises. So you had Spencer Maudlin and Matt Rowell 1st and 2nd, but then Jason Sweeney swoops up there from UTVB in the number 3 spot. I got a couple more Pro Turbos, and then first single seat we see is Chris Drailb, finishes in the number 6 spot overall. And then from there, it's just kind of a mix of Pro Turbos and Pro 1000s and UTVA and B, and,
Yeah, kind of gets a mix at that point.
Yep. First Masters you're seeing are down there 16, 17, and 18. You had 3 of them finish boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
But overall, nice mix of UTVs out there. Had 37 entries, which honestly, for the last race of the season,
not bad.
I'm not going to call it a holiday weekend, but still, it's there's stuff going on.
Right.
That's not bad, not bad at all.
Yep. So well, congrats to AXCC. Another season in the books. You guys did great.
Absolutely.
You know, hopefully back next year with more great improvements and, more great tracks.
I actually like the quick banquet. Some people like to kind of have it later in the year or, early the next year, January, February, before the race season starts to kind of get people pumped up. But honestly, I like the quick banquet idea.
Yeah.
You come in, you get it knocked out, you know where the points totals are, everything's decided, you put a cap on the season, you move on.
Yeah. I like how they did it too. It was basically like the evening after the race, there's your banquet.
Done. Move on.
Yep.
So Chad and I were supposed to go do a thing.
Yeah, and then Doug didn't go.
I welched on the bed. No, I had a family issue come up that I just couldn't get away from realistically. So I sent Chad out to a place by himself.
I was unsupervised.
I really, for the sake of the country, I try and not do that. But sometimes it happens anyways.
Yes. So I went out to Iowa. I went out to Dr. Powersports, saw Chad and Jared and Jason out there. I made up a whole video on it. You guys can check that out. It came out a week ago, so check that out. It was a ton of fun. But we went out there. We took the X3 that's sitting there behind me, and we did some dyno runs. And a lot of people, like when I posted a couple, or at least a Instagram video while I was there, and a lot of people, I don't know what they thought. They kind of got the idea that, like, oh, you should see higher numbers than that. The highest I saw was 209 at the crank, or at the wheels, I'm sorry.
Which is like 250 at the crank.
It's like almost 260.
Yeah.
This is all guesstimation. The average, they say that the loss is, and I've heard up to 30%, but the average that everyone says that you lose through the drivetrain on these is about 25%. So I figured at 25%, if I was 209 at the wheels, I was around 257 or 259, whatever it was, at the crank. And then there's this meme going around that says, I'm not going to go the whole meme because it's kind of vulgar.
I know what it is.
But basically, like, you're just blowing smoke up everybody's rear if you're, quoting numbers of crank horsepower. What do you think the factory quotes?
Yeah, I mean, when the X3 first came out and said 172, you think that was at the wheel on the ground?
No. Now they're putting out 195 horsepower machines. That's still at the crank.
Yeah.
Like, that's the universal way to quote it. If you're quoting it at the tire, it just means, like, I'm taking all the variables out and this is what I'm actually putting down.
Yeah.
So that meme's kind of stupid anyway. But I don't care what you want to call it, 209 or 259, we'll say. That's decent. That's really decent numbers for an X3.
You know what I call it? Scary.
Yeah, Doug got to ride in it.
Now, I've raced with Chad. I've raced with Matt Rowell. I've raced with Barry Miller. I mean, I don't get nervous in a car, but I have to admit, being in your car without a helmet on, and it was soaking wet and it was slippery.
Yeah.
Like, it was like greased snot out there. There was no traction whatsoever.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I clinched up a little bit. Like, there's a couple times where I'm like,
I noticed the passenger seat had a peak right where you were sitting.
Like, normally that is not an issue for me, but I have to admit, I was like, when you first hit it, I was like, okay. And then I settled in and I was fine. But that's a rare thing for me. But it was just that brutal.
It's fast, isn't it? And it didn't hook up. So we took it out. We went to do like a lap around the short course track that I have here, but we had just had rain, I don't know, the night before, a couple days before, whatever it was. And it was too wet. So we jumped off of there, and I was like, well, we'll just run it down the road so you can kind of get a feel. And it was still in four-wheel drive because I'm locked in four-wheel drive all the time right now due to things. That's another story. But I jumped on the road, and I mashed it, and it spun all four for an easy 75 feet or so. Like, all four just lit up, and we were still going.
Yeah.
But yeah, it pulls hard. I want to clarify again, it is by no means a purpose-built drag car. That is not its purpose. It is a track machine. It's made to race. So it's not like, oh, I can take the tube out and put the lightest tube in for roll cage stuff and make it light, and I'm just going to build the biggest horsepower, because you get too much horsepower and it's not controllable in tight situations.
Mm-hmm.
It's all or nothing. Whereas this one's still really controllable, but plenty of power.
For sure. In fact, I made the comment to you, if this was a purpose-built road machine, like you lowered it just a little bit more, put road tires on it, and raced it on some sort of road type of circuit, and you re-clutched it for, more speed at the top end, that thing would be, triple digits, like all day long.
Yeah. It'd be a monster.
Yeah.
It's probably not even a quarter mile to the road we ran down to out here. And as soon as we got there and started to make the turn, I turned to Doug and said that was 80 miles an hour.
Yeah. Like at a quarter mile, we pretty much started to run out of RPM.
Yeah. I think, and according to Jared, he said you should be real close to touching 90 with the tires that are on it. He said if you put 30s on it, you'd be well over 90.
Yeah. Nope, she's a real beast. And it's tuned, but this is also running E85, so.
Yeah, and she's thirsty.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, the next race for me is the weekend of Thanksgiving, I guess. It's down there at Durhamtown in Georgia. I'm going to go down there, and I'm going to run, and that'll be fun. So, short course stuff there. Yeah, that should be a good time. So.
I'm really curious to see, again, you didn't pick up a ton of horsepower. Things were tuned and tweaked a little bit, but really what you got from Dr. Powersports was you're in the power band quicker, you stay there longer, and that thing pulls like a freight train. So I am curious to see it now on a short course track.
Yeah, and like Jason and Jared were telling me, they said you're going to see slight variances in the graphs here and stuff like that. They said, and it won't look all that impressive. We understand that. But what you're going to feel impressed with is when you actually accelerate, instead of like flattening out, it's just going to keep pulling.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm looking for. Like, we didn't change a tune. We weren't trying to get more horsepower. What I rolled it in there with is the exact same tune and everything else as I rolled out with. Like, we didn't change a darn thing. It was all about the clutching.
But honestly, if you get a chance to head out to Iowa and visit Dr. Powersports, they have a really, really first-rate shop out there. And again, this is a purpose-built dyno. This is designed to account for the different dynamics of a UTV and a CVT-style transmission, the way they build power, the way they hold power. It's different than say a road car that has a 5-speed manual or an automatic transmission. I mean, they put down power completely differently, and most dynos are tuned for that. So they've got the right equipment there to really tweak and tune and find those small details where you're picking up little bits of power here and there. And again, the big thing is getting into that power band and staying there. And they've got the tools and the techniques and honestly just the knowledge to get you there. Yeah,
Jared was great with it. One other thing on the dyno itself, because I hadn't really thought about it this way, but most dynos, you set them at a set drag percentage, like 17% or whatever it is. And from start to the end of your run, it's just 17%. Well, theirs simulates wind resistance. So the faster you go, the more it increases the resistance to simulate wind resistance. It's like, oh, that makes sense, because if you didn't have the wind resistance accounted for in there, it would throw your clutching off, and it would feel slightly different when you actually got out there and accelerated.
Yeah. It's as close to being able to simulate a real-world flat ground situation as you can get in a shop.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And they were great. Like, Jared and Jason, they were the two main guys I really dealt with. Chad had other stuff going on. Man, they stayed late, and we were working on stuff, and they treated me well. Like Doug said, top-notch shop. They just built a brand new one about a year ago, so they're still kind of getting some stuff situated. They're getting as much inventory in as you can. So if you're looking for new machines, they got them. If you're looking for someone to tune your clutch, they will do it, and they will get you set up right. Even like down to loading new engine tunes and stuff like that. They'll do that and kind of custom tune yours for exactly your machine. So great guys, definitely check them out.
I did have to laugh though, because they've got all of this equipment in a special dyno for, you know, accounting for a CVT, and then they go out and buy Honda Talons.
That's true, but well, they still tune theirs. Like they have tunes in theirs because they still run their Talons in automatic, which makes sense because when you and I test drove it, you couldn't shift it fast enough to do any good. You were better off to just leave it in automatic.
Really? Yeah, especially in a tight wood situation.
So they have their tunes that are in those Talons also change shift parameters. So they're still using that dyno to work all that out. Or they were. I mean, I'm sure they got it worked out now. But you know what I'm saying? Like, the dyno wasn't useless because they got Talons.
Yeah.
So.
But hey, if we don't spread misinformation, we don't have a show.
That's true. We're kind of getting to the end here, but IXCR has a couple races left this year, or at least one. You know. Yeah,
they've got so on the 7th, which is this coming weekend, the 7th and 8th, they've got the Rock Run over in Rockville, Indiana. And then they're going to finish out the season over in Martinsville, Indiana. But that one is going to be weather dependent because you're talking the 21st and 22nd of November. And so things could be really sketchy out there at Lee Farms, just depending on how things shake out. So round 11 is a big parentheses.
Yeah, could happen, could not. Let's hope it does. It's close to home for me.
Yeah.
So that'd be nice to get down there and do that. So.
But that's going to put a button on the season. Everyone else has already wrapped theirs up. IXCR running a little bit later than the other series, but we're getting down to the bitter end here.
Yep. 2 IXCRs, and then I go down to Georgia, and I don't know of any others other than Texplex. I don't think we're attending Texplex. After talking to some of the other guys, too much stuff going on and prep for hammers and stuff like that. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Especially, I mean, once you get into the holiday season, Thanksgiving in that area, like it just seems like there's no free time, and then the next thing you know, it's New Year's.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
Well, that's what we've got for you. We do want to say a big thank you, of course, to all of our sponsors. CW Motorsports, who's been our title sponsor for this entire season. We really, really appreciate that. And if you have a poor, sad, beat-up race machine that needs parts aplenty, go see CW. They'll get you hooked up. Maybe you blown up a motor and need a complete replacement. They can definitely do that for you. They'll ship it to you in a nice pre-made shipping crate. And all you have to do is dunk your old motor in there and put the prepaid shipping label on there, and it's out of your life, and you have a new motor. It's just that simple.
Yep.
We've also got Spang's Fab on board, who, if you beat up your roll cage or your rock sliders or maybe your entire machine, they can hook you up there as well in terms of fixing that stuff up for you. Take it over to Matt Price at 834 Powder Coat, who is also one of our sponsors, and he can fix all the dings and racing nicks and scratches and things that have happened this year, make your machine ready for 2021. And, of course, we've got Watch Communications, who host the podcast and the website. And if you live in rural parts of Indiana or Ohio, I think they've spread like a itchy virus into Kentucky now as well. Basically anywhere that touches Indiana, they can probably hook you up with internet access if nobody else can.
Yep.
You can find us on the web at eminentperformance.com, on Facebook and Instagram /Eminent Racing, on YouTube /Eminent Performance, and if you want the podcast, just look for your favorite podcast outlet, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, any of those, and type in Eminent Performance, and you'll find us there as well.
Yep.
And the normal beg for likes and subscribes. If you're interested in the show, just take a couple seconds, drop.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, like we said, race season's wrapping up. Some of the shows will be fewer and far between. We'll kind of just go to where we're doing special trips and projects and things like that. So they'll be a little bit more scarce and scattered, but yeah, just keep watching. We got stuff. Thanks, guys.